Let me open up this conversation. Gautam Mukherjee is on the broadcast with us. Jaijit Bhattacharya is with us. Raman Talwar is with us. Sumit Peer and Akash Jindal joining us on the broadcast. Jaijit, now, you're seasoned enough to have gone through the reports of both the doom and gloom and great excitement and ambition. So temper this conversation. Do you feel a momentum building palpably in what's happening around us?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's just figure out why we are growing at the pace that all these reports are talking about. At the core of it is demographics, right? We are the youngest nation. We've got a huge workforce. In fact, if you look at just the student-going population of India, that's more than the entire population of Pakistan. And Pakistan has a huge population of 200 million people. So it's a significant population that is raring to go in and start working. And when they work, they will earn, obviously, and that adds to the GDP. And that's basically the core of where we are working, why we are growing. In addition, I think what we really needed was the infrastructure to be able to tap into this huge energy pool that's getting unleashed into the market. And fortunately, that infrastructure is coming into place at a huge pace. In fact, surpassing the pace at which even China was building up the roads, we are building up roads. And of very good quality, we're building up the roads, we're building up ports, seaports, river ports, shallow water ports, airports, short runway airports, all kinds of infrastructure coming up, which is going to aid this huge energy that's going to get unleashed from the demographics that we are witnessing. Having said that, obviously the challenge will be, will it be a demographic dividend or a demographic curse? Because if we don't for India, then we can slip into a civil war kind of a situation, because we'll have a huge population which is not skilled enough to be able to earn what their aspirations are. So, along with having the demographic advantage, we also need to make sure that there is rapid skilling, rapid education, and so on and going on.
Jaijit, as just a point of example for people watching this broadcast, because it happens slowly. Change, development, road buildings happen slowly. But I recently had gone to the hills. Recently means a few months ago. Should have gone now in the bad climate right now. But from my house in South Delhi, the first red light I hit was in Ambala.
Right.
So I went from my house in South Delhi all the way to Ambala without having to cross a red light. Okay, because there were underpasses and bridges all throughout. Now that is something that I can palpably see. If you head to the north now towards Haridwar, again from my house to Meerut is 45 minutes. I've never seen a road like that. Even the Eastern Expressway doesn't really count because that road is not doing very well in maintenance. But are we seeing it? I have a 1 Gbps internet connection in my house. Okay, that matches up to friends I have in Silicon Valley. Are we seeing it palpably, Jaijit? Can you feel it?
So, Rishabh, in fact, right now I am in the middle of a temple in a forest reserve about 100 kilometers away from Hyderabad. And we are able to have this conversation as if I've got a broadband. I'm actually using my phone. And I'm getting very significant connectivity over here. And it took me about 3 hours to cover 350 kilometers. And that shows the quality of roads that have been built up over here. So completely amplifying what you're saying. And in addition, another point I would like to add is if you look at the World Bank report for 2010, the report said that 50% of India's GDP is actually black, which means that we are actually 50% bigger than what we are on paper.
Yeah.
Which means that if we are about $3.4 trillion, and let's say we have been able to reduce the black economy because of the steps taken for the last 5-6 years, because of GST, because of demonetization and so on. Let's say conservatively our black economy is 30%. That means we are already still $4.5 trillion worth of economy, which is almost as big as Germany and Japan. So we are almost the third largest economy as we speak, if we consider our black economy.
Okay. In the emerging sectors of space, where I did a telecast last week that we are about to have our first private sector space launch. If it was Elon Musk, it would have been the biggest global news story, but we're about to do it. In defense, we are now exporting. One day defense could be a net earner instead of revenue expense. I don't know what we're doing with electric vehicles. I don't know whether we've found the lithium or alternatives. I don't know whether we've set up the quantum computing. I know we are setting up the semiconductors. a lot needs to be done. What are the places where we need to be, doing piloting ourselves into?
Absolutely. So let me just bring in one sobering thought before I answer your question, is that China needs to grow at around 2.3% to add $400 billion of GDP addition. US has to grow at 2% to do that same addition. India has to grow at 15% to make that addition. So do keep that in mind, that the size of the economies that we're talking about now are significantly different. So it's better to avoid the comparison between Indian economy and China and US. And therefore that brings me to an answer to your question, is that in order for us to be really the dominant economy and to bring prosperity to our people, we should be betting on the next set of technologies and not just be the third country to have come out with the technology, or the fourth country to have come out with the technology, but do a crystal ball gazing and see what is it that we really need. Now, clearly, with climate change happening, food security becomes one of the biggest issues, and therefore, focusing our energies on having factory-made food, which is genetically made food in a factory, rather than growing it slowly in an area where the climate is changing. We need to have those technologies. For example, slaughter-free meat becomes very important, both from the limiting of pollution and CO2 emissions, because meat industry is the largest polluter in this planet.
Yeah.
And in addition, if you look at, let's say, the fintech industry, if you bring in quantum computing, that's the end of fintech industry the way you see it now.
Yeah.
Every banking protocol and cryptography that we have out there will be smashed
will
through.
Collapse, correct.
And we need to have our quantum computing in place as quickly as possible. If you look at the issue of just travel, we are not going to travel in the same old aircrafts anymore. We will be traveling in supersonics, and supersonics which will not create a boom which will break down the glasses of the houses below that aircraft that's flying. We need to move into the next generation of aircrafts and create the supersonic transport aircrafts, and that's something we need to invest in. Sadly, we do not even have an aircraft industry. We are very good in space. We are very good in rocketry. We have startups who are building up the cheapest of rockets because they are 3D printing it, which is a technology which does not exist anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
So along with the entire rocket, we're also building engines which are 3D printed, which is 1/10 the cost of regular
engines. But
this
is the thing, if there is no shortage of money, I can tell you, it's just a matter of getting, literally, you can sit with a piece of paper, as I have done for sure, okay? You can sit with a piece of paper and you can see what all you need to do and the investments. And I promise you, 3 years ago, we thought the semiconductors was the biggest thing, and well, it's happening. So 2 years later, we'll be there. I'd like to be there when the first, at least the 5-10 nanometer chips, I'm not saying we're down to 2 or 4 yet, start rolling out.